Hey, Good News family. This is Tana Heineman, the host of our Now What podcast. This is where we unpack Sunday's message and we talk about how to practically apply it to our everyday lives. I love that you're here with us, and I love that we get the opportunity to spend more time with our pastors and have them teach us even more what the Word has to say about our everyday lives. We learn from Jesus that one of the best ways to grow is in community together. So join us as we unpack Sunday's message.
What's up, Good News family? How are you? This is the What Now podcast. I'm your host today, Josh Hoffman, and I have Pastor Rafael with me.
What's up, Josh?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm great.
We were just talking about offline how you're feeling a little bit sore from your workouts.
Yep.
Changed it up a little bit.
Yes,
and now it's hitting you.
Yeah. That's what happened when you're my age, Josh. You can't take prolonged time off, and it was only a 2-week, but it feels
2-week break and you're coming back and
I'm dying. And I guess how many pounds I gained in 2 weeks?
2 weeks, let's say 5 pounds.
Yeah, pretty close.
Pretty
four
close. 4
point
pounds.
something.
Yeah.
So just an anniversary trip was in the mix there, so I just really splurged.
Are you gonna take time off of your running routine for the holidays, like for Thanksgiving and stuff coming up?
No, I can't, because I am signing up for a full marathon for the first time next year. So I got to figure out when that one will be, but I'm leaning towards beginning of May one. And if that's the case, it's a 20-week build.
Wow.
And so if that's the case, I need to start in December, my brother. And in the middle of the winter, that means running when it's really cold. So anyway.
I did a workout routine where I had to work out outside at least once every day, and I started it in the winter, which was a mistake because it was cold, man. There were times where I was outside doing whatever the workout for the day was, and my ears would be frozen, and I'd be snot running down my face, and my body didn't know how to handle it. So.
Yeah, low key, like Tom Houston showed me a picture of last winter when he was training for a marathon, and obviously he's trying to get a Boston qualifying time and all that. But he showed me a picture, and he had let his beard grow a little longer, and so while he's trying to drink, like hydrate while he's running, and then gets what old, and like he looked like the abominable snowman. Yeah, it's like wow. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, no.
Hey, we do hard things, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say those disciplines are impressive for sure. Yeah. Well, so this week we've been, over the last few weeks, we've been going through the book of Ruth. Yep. You took chapter 3 of this week, and we'll just jump right into it. But something that I really appreciated was that you shared your perspective of this chapter. I hope you've all read this chapter on your own or were there on Sunday, but there's some elements of this chapter that if we're reading it out of context or even in understanding some of the context that's going on,
right,
our view of this chapter can be like, what in the world is going on here? That seems... Is this in the Bible? Am I reading the right book?
Could be confusing or odd.
Confusing, kind of throw you for a little bit of a loop. But I thought you brought great perspective to this. So we'll jump in from the top. We recycled. I shouldn't say recycled. We retouched on the word chesed. Am I saying that right?
Chesed. Yeah.
Chesed. Yeah.
Or chesed. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the K, which makes it confusing.
Well, you could have it without
Chesed.
the K. Chesed. Yeah.
So Chesed, and then you read out of Psalm 136, chapter 136 of Psalm, and it says, "Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His faithful love," or that is where the word Chesed is, endures forever. And Pastor Greg had talked about that word the week before. So Chesed is loving kindness, mercy, steadfast love, loyalty, faithfulness, and goodness. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting because then you broke down that chapter of 136 of Psalms, and you read it from a few different translations. The first was NLT, what I just read. ESV says it as his steadfast love. NASB says it as his loving kindness is everlasting. And then New King James says that his mercy endures forever. But how all of these translations for Chesed all come from it's from the same word.
Right.
It's just a different translation.
Right. And it just talking about the richness of the word,
right,
and how it is it is not only something that we can display, but that is part of the nature of God, the character of God. And then, like, it's such a wonderful, it's a rich word that when we break it into the English language, we don't have just one word that can describe it, like they do in the Hebrew language, obviously. So, yeah.
There's so many things like that that I really appreciate, because I know that for me, and I assume for most people, you start reading the Bible, and maybe it's that you start off in one translation, you see these words that maybe pop out, or maybe they don't the first time, but then you read it in another translation and it really hits home with you. But the reality is that, like, whenever we study what these words actually mean, we can see the fullness, have a better view of the fullness of the word.
Yeah.
And in that, whenever you break it down like that, I feel like it helps me to see that love of God throughout all of Scripture.
Right.
You know, that steadiness throughout it all, and you can see his character is never changing whenever you see the big picture of it.
Yeah, and so this is a good point, talking about the different translations. So when I first gave my life to Jesus, so in my family, everybody was going to a Spanish-speaking church, and then they were all reading in Spanish, Reina Valera, which it's the equivalent to the King James version in Spanish. So I purchased a bilingual Bible. So basically, in each page, you have the Spanish right next to the English. And so, but the English that was on there was King James. And I'm like, this is so difficult. Like, I can't get it. And then somebody introduced me to the New King James. And so I was like, oh, this is a lot more understandable than this King James stuff. And so I started reading King James. And so it was really interesting, because going to Psalm 136, the King James says, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. Right. And every single verse after that is his mercy endures forever. His mercy endures forever. Well, then I was having a friend, and we were in a men's group, and they were all reading NIV. So I went to the NIV. So in that one, it does not say mercy. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, why did they change the word? Because if you go from mercy to loving kindness, that sounds like, this is a different, like, why are you changing the word? I was familiar with mercy. And so, but again, it's not that one is right and the other one was wrong. It's just that we don't have one word to describe it. Yeah. And so,
well, again, even the word love, we use that as so many different ways that we use that word. But, in Scripture, or in other languages even, there's so many different words. Right. Or just, depending on what type of love you're talking about. Yep. So
we have to, so a great example is the word love. So when you got phileo and agape, and so in Spanish, you say, like, as a friend, I say, te quiero. Like, that it's, I love you. Like, the word quiero means to want, but if I say it to somebody, like, man, te quiero, bro, like, that means, like, I love you, but in a brotherly love. Yeah. Now, when I say te amo, that's like that agape love. Yeah. But it can also mean like a sensual, like it's a different thing. So, like in English,
te amo
you have
is what you said.
Te amo. Te amo. Te amo is like I love you. We only have I love you. Like I love you. I love you. And so, like, sometimes for me, like, I remember, like, coming from, so my family still, uses a lot of Spanish and stuff like that. So when I started, like, when dudes would tell me, like, man, love you, like, I'm like, that feels weird to me, because to me it was like, we don't have any differentiation in English. Like, it's just, I love you. Yeah. And so you could say, I love you, Josh, and I love you to my wife. I'm like, that doesn't seem like to be the same.
Isn't
but anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those things are so, I think that I personally, I don't know, I'm not that smart. So I was going to say, I wish we had more words to describe that, but context means everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
You telling your wife, I love you, if I hear that and I'm like, okay, next time you tell me you love me, that means you love me the same as your wife. Yeah. That would be ridiculous. Yeah. Like, no way. She's the top person in your life. You know what I mean? Like, so for me to assume that would be wrong. But the context of, like, no, we have a good friendship. We're brothers in Christ. Yeah. Like, so you telling me that, like, I don't expect, to be in your will because because you tell me that, now even with your kids, it's a different thing. So, I think that context is really what says a lot, which plays into this chapter.
Yep,
us understanding the context of what what is going on here? What's going on with Ruth and this guy Boaz and this whole situation? So if we jump in right at the top of Ruth chapter 3, I'll just give you a brief summary. So Naomi tells Ruth to go basically get cleaned up, go take a shower, put on some perfume, some clean clothes.
Yeah, man.
Get yourself all dolled up, and then
is Naomi pimping Ruth?
Yeah, I know.
What's going on here?
It's
come on.
Interesting, because that's where our minds go.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, and depending on where you come from, right? Because there are people that are not going to read that, even if they're new believers or not even depending on your background and where you come from, you may read this totally different.
Right. Well, and I've tried to shift my mind in that too, of like, okay, so this is her mother-in-law. Like, we understand that her motive at this point is to set up Ruth, with a good opportunity potentially. Right. So in that, then I try to shift my mind of like, all right, so what was it like whenever I went on like my first date? Like, did my dad give me some pointers and be like, all right, man, you need to shave and no, take a shower, you stink, like, you should put on a nice shirt, like, did he give me advice and those kind of things? And so that's kind of the framework that I initially had put my mind into after reading this. Like, oh, okay, Ruth probably just doesn't know. Like, maybe it's that she's never been in this situation before. And so Naomi's just trying to be like, hey, you have been working out in the field. Like, you need a bath, kind of a deal. But the context of that and like just what's going on in this moment is so, like, it kind of took me back. And even how she tells her, like, all right, they're going to be out on the threshing floor. They're working. And again, you got to understand that this was like a big event that was happening. Him and all of his family and workers, friends and workers, whatever. They're doing all this work, and then they crash there. Like, they're not going home. They crash at the place.
It's a party.
It's a party. Yeah, they're eating. They're having fun. They're drinking. Unfermented wine, of course. But, they're having a good time. And so, but Naomi tells her, all right, so whenever this happens, stay out of sight until he goes to go to bed. Whenever he goes to bed, then just go lay at his feet.
Uncover his feet. But listen, so like you talked about where this, like you've seen it as, hey, when I went on my first date, I was totally honest on Sunday how I view this, and it's interesting because even some other people on our staff were like, no, I never seen it as that. But coming with my background and from basically where I came from, I'm thinking there's an older woman that is saying, do these things because I need you to be provided for permanently. Right. So the reason why she was telling her, it's not go get cleaned up because you stink, right? Yeah. Like I tell my boys are like, hey man, you've been wearing football pads, like you stink, go shower. It's not any of that. It's not a first date thing. My first initial response to this text was, I read it through the lenses of, oh, this is a family member pimping somebody out. Like I'm thinking, and what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with it, it's like, okay, you want this person to be provided for, and therefore it sounds to me like the initial engagement or conversation in chapter 3 is, I want you to be provided for, and the way that we do this is through sexual means. Right. That's what it sounded like to me.
Totally.
And so I was like, wait a minute. But again, like I didn't have the context, like you were talking about the word I love you. Like if you don't have the context of who is being said to and the relationship. Yeah. So I didn't have the context. I was reading that through my own lenses and my biases and thinking, Naomi, what are you doing? What are you telling this young lady to do? And then she got to go over there. And then she says, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So Ruth is kind of scandalous, right? Like, you're not even going to say like, no, wait a minute. That's not who I am. Like, but there is so much to the story, right? And which I didn't know at the time.
Yeah. So let's talk more about that. There's more about this story, even if we just stop at this point where Ruth replies, I will do everything that you say. Right. So let's stop at that point. And, that to me says her response. And again, I understand like my perspective of this was similar to yours of like, what in the world? And even in shifting it, I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's just giving her advice.
Yep.
But then with Ruth's response, and this is newer even for me, Ruth's response of, I will do everything that you say, that is such a clear indicator that she trusted
absolutely
Naomi.
Yeah.
Like that she's saying, I might not even get it.
Yeah.
But I'll do whatever you say.
Yeah. And that is a key component here of her total obedience, right? Yeah. So there is listen, I said, because again, I didn't touch on this, but remember in chapter 1, what Ruth said to Naomi. She says, do not ask me to leave you. Yep. Because wherever you go, I'll go. Yep. What, your people will be my people. Yep. Your God will be my God. And where you are buried, I will be buried. And let Yahweh, let God judge me ever so severely. Right? Yep. If I don't do this, right? And so, like now,
that's a good point.
She made a vow. She's saying, you can hold me to this.
Yeah.
And the vows that they make then, it's not like now that we say, hey, marriage is a vow. And right now it's like, yeah, I got married. Okay, I'm getting a divorce next time because you did not fulfill all my wants and needs and insecurities. I feel, so anyway, that's a different podcast. But she made a vow. So now the person that she made a vow to, the person that she holds in high regard, ask her to do this.
Yep.
So again, Ruth also knows the position that they're in.
Yep.
They're in a predicament.
Yeah.
In a pickle. And so like to us, we don't understand it. And is another component of context here, because if you have never been in a position where you don't know where your next meal is coming from, it's very easy to judge, right? It's very easy to say, wow, would you do that? Right?
Right. Absolutely.
So
that's such a good point.
Yeah. And so that's what her obedience is huge here, but she had already made a covenant. She had already said, I'll be with you till the end. Right. And now that is displaying that trust also in Naomi.
Well, I think that even you said it, like she made the covenant to the end. And so my perspective of this is that even if that were to be the wrong move, the commitment is still there. She's trusting her, and she's going to go along with what she recommends. You said she asks. I don't read it as her asking. I read it as her telling her, like, no, this is what you need to go do this. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that even is an interesting one. But there's so much more in this. And you mentioned chapter 1 right now, but in chapter 2, you had mentioned on Sunday how Ruth had asked permission to go and try to find a way to provide for them.
Right.
You're talking about their meals and how. Right in chapter 2 is where Boaz has given her permission to take up even
glean,
more.
Yeah, the field. Yeah,
glean more, and he had told his workers to leave more for her.
Yeah,
and so even in that, like she's seeing elements of provision, elements of being cared for by someone who she doesn't really have relationship with in closeness, But this person is showing that kindness, that loving kindness. Yep. Towards her is such a cool thing, and the progression of that, how they go from I have no idea to I find myself in the right field with somebody who's blessing us and loving us, to now like I'm going to take another step to see if this is even more of provision for us.
So I want to highlight something else in what you're saying. Just trigger my mind to think through a different component of the request that Naomi's bringing to Ruth. Okay. So this request did not happen in a vacuum. Like meaning, like it's not just like Naomi said to Ruth, "Hey, listen, go get cleaned up, go get some smell goods, put on some sleazy clothes, and go find a dude." Right? Yeah. That's not what she said, because chapter 3 began with her saying, "Hey, listen, Boaz." Yeah. The man who has allowed you to be with his women, gleaning at the field and helping you provide for us, is our family redeemer. Right. It is a close family member. So it did not happen in a vacuum. So that could be that's another thing that I missed early without knowing context. Early in my reading of the story was, Naomi's saying, listen, put it 2 and 2 together. There was already an understanding that a close family member could redeem the family.
Yep,
okay?
absolutely.
So that's what Naomi was asking of her. It's not really, hey, I'm going to go out there
random.
and sell you to the highest bidder. It wasn't that. It was someone who already was a close family member that had the ability and perhaps the willingness to redeem the family.
Yeah. I wonder if that was part of Ruth's culture also. You know, if that whole family redeemer element was even something that she was, and this is just me saying, because I don't know.
That's a great question.
I wonder if that was part of her culture also.
I'm not familiar with that.
Or if it was something that was even new to her, where she's like, I don't know how this practice goes. Because we don't.
Yeah.
You know, can you imagine if you know, you all of a sudden you had somebody else that you were like, okay, I guess it's my responsibility to take care of you now. For one reason or another, and we might do that to some degree, but not like that. You know, that's a different level.
I mean, it was a responsibility, and we'll see. I mean, when you go to chapter 4, then we see that Boaz brought it to another person that was even closer than him. So that would be a chapter 4 discussion. But like, I don't know if being the Moabite, like if that was a custom of in their culture, but for sure it was of the Israelites, and for sure it's something that Naomi knew, and something that Naomi now is passing on to Ruth and giving her that insight.
I'm with you, and there's so much of the story that is in front of us that I'm having to pull myself back from jumping into, because I love this story. There's so many elements of this story that are so incredible to me of how people, how God loves his people. But anyway, so in chapter 3, we'll jump ahead. Verses 8 and 9 get really interesting. Yeah. This is where it gets a little saucy, if you will. Okay, so listen.
Is it mild? Is it hot? No. Or is it like smoking hot? Is it habanero hot?
It's spicy.
Ghost pepper.
It's not,
Is it banana peppery? Is it jalapeno? Is it habanero? Or is it ghost pepper? Where are you at?
I would say it's a jalapeno hot. Like you can enjoy it.
Okay. It doesn't kill you. It doesn't have you running.
It's not going to knock you back. But, okay, so verse 8 says, around midnight, y'all, all through high school, one of my close friends, her mom would always say, if we were leaving the house after 9 o'clock, she would always say, naughty after 9. Like, you guys are going to be in trouble. You're being, don't be out there. And she was probably right, So the fact that it's around midnight, no.
If you're naughty after 9, what's that after midnight?
Come on, that's what I'm saying. I can't even think of the last time I was awake till midnight. But, okay, so around midnight, Boaz suddenly woke up and turned over. He was surprised to find a woman lying at his feet. He says, who are you?
Come on now.
Can you imagine? It's dark. He probably doesn't have a candle lit, whatever, He's like, who are you? He don't have his
He already
on.
had enough to eat, enough to drink.
Yeah,
he was happy, tired, laying down there.
This man was gassed. He had been working all day, ate a bunch of food, and then laying down. And he wakes up to somebody. He's like, who are you?
Yeah.
I think that's funny. And she says, I am your servant Ruth. And she tells him, spread the corner of your covering over me, for you are my family redeemer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's interesting that this is, again, a perspective shift of me. Spread the corner of your covering over me. Says something to me. Like, it's not, hey, let me cuddle up next to you. She is putting herself in a very vulnerable place already by being at his feet. And then what she's asking for is just simply a corner of his covering. So this is very different. But where my mind went whenever I read that corner of your covering was the picture was of the shadow of his wings, but then also the woman touching the hem of God, of Jesus' garment. So all of those pictures flooded my mind whenever we're talking about the corner of his covering. And so I know you jump into that too, but but because you are my family redeemer, So interesting. So Naomi has told Ruth that Boaz is the relative, and we've talked about that and what the family redeemer means. But do you have a little bit more context about what a family redeemer? I know we've talked about it, kind of.
Yeah.
But what all did that entail? Like, what was more of it than like, okay, now you're my wife, or?
Well, a family redeemer is just someone that it's able to, like I said, in biblical, So in biblical context, a redeemer is someone that can transfer possession to the rightful owner. Right. So, like, obviously, they lost their land. They moved away from their land, right, because of the famine. Now that she came back, and the husband is not there, the sons are not there. They lost their family land, if you will. And now, it's funny because like you could wait for the year of Jubilee to be restored your land or whatever, but it's 30 years. Like I don't have 30 years right now to wait for the year of Jubilee, and so like, what is that? I think it's 30 years. So the like they're in a really precarious. Yeah, well, I think you're saying it wrong too, but we don't have Tana here to correct us. But anyway, so they're in a really bad spot, and so the number one thing is when it comes to a redeemer is transferring the possession back to the rightful owner. Mm-hmm. So that's what a redeemer can do, and also restore a person back to their family. Because, like, let's face it, right now their family name is in shambles, right? Mm-hmm. Like they don't have that lineage. Like right now, like you could say that Pastor Greg loves to say, like, hey, you're a Wallace. Yep. Like, right? Like it's something that I remember telling our kids, and we're like, our oldest, Eli was young. He would say, like, why can't I do this? My friends are doing it. I say, yeah, you don't do it because you're an Aristy. Yeah. And your friends, it's okay for your friends to do it, but it's not okay for us to do it. So we have a standard. So like there's a problem in this story. And the problem was like they don't have their possessions no longer are theirs, right? Yeah. And now their family have been in shambles. They don't have a family line. After this, like Naomi, it's sold to where even if she gets married herself and has children, like Ruth is not going to be it's going to be years upon years upon years for her to be able to wait for that child to be able to be married. And so like they're in a bad spot. So like that redemption is like one of those two things is for the Redeemer. And you ask like, what does that look like? Well, it has to be a person that is a close family relative and a person that is in a position to be able to do so. So like in chapter 4, I think we'll touch a little bit more on that. Again, I don't want to push into that because there's a lot that happens there when Boaz goes to the relative that is closest and his response to that and how that whole scene unfolds. But the idea is it is a person that can help deliver, right, a family member. Mm-hmm. And because they find themselves in a pickle. Like you have a debt that you can't pay. Yeah. And at this place, it's like in this spot that they find themselves, it's like they will not be able to eat.
So in her asking him to spread the corner of his covering over her, that is what she's asking him. Yeah. Will you be my family redeemer? Correct?
Oh, she's asking, will you marry me?
Yeah, marriage.
Yeah.
You mentioned
she is. It is like, think about that as like grabbing a ring. And right now I got a rubber ring, so it's not my original wedding ring, but so it's like she is basically saying, will you marry me? You know, she's getting on her knees and saying, will you marry me? Which is so interesting because it's like, what? Like when I read that, obviously I didn't know that cultural component. Like how does that mean this? Because when you think about it in a logical sense, it's like she's saying, spread your covering, basically your garment, your cloak, like that which is covering you. Now I'm asking you to use that which is covering you to cover me. Wow. So it is more than just passion, desire, as sometimes we're like, oh, we see people that get married for all the wrong reasons. Sure. And listen, in this culture, it was if a person, like if a man is marrying a woman, like you're saying, I am going to cover you.
Yeah.
I am going to be your protector. I'm going to be your provider.
Yeah.
I'm building my family lineage through you. We're going to have babies right?
Yeah.
So, which I know that you love that because you got babies.
I got all the babies.
All the babies.
Yeah, I got to hold Tammy's little baby today. And
oh, yeah. You're the whisperer, bro.
Man,
you're like, and now you want more babies.
No. The thought crossed my mind.
Like,
yeah, Kristen would probably want more babies before me. The thought crossed my mind, but I was like, no, we can't. No more baby girls. I'll just hold everybody else's baby girls.
Yeah.
So that you asked, pardon me. You asked in service. I was in first service. You said, how many women in here proposed to their guys, and out of everybody there, I think only one person, one woman raised her hand.
First service with one lady, and second service with one lady.
One
again.
person.
I was like, we got a Ruth in here. Come on, let's go.
But yeah, that's so different than the way that we do things, and I imagine even the way that they did things.
Yep.
And so even that was such a probably countercultural.
Yes,
thing.
I mean Ruth is putting her. She is pouring her character on the line. She's putting her reputation on the line. Not her character, her reputation. Because it is like, if somebody sees this and somebody knows that this happened, what are they going to say? And that's what I said, that the following verses then, when she identifies that it's her there, then I feel like then Boaz is telling her, hey, don't worry about a thing, because everybody knows that you are a virtuous woman. Everybody knows that you are you have great character. So I'm like, why is he saying that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, when you think about it, like, why is he talking like this? Well, it is because she has just done something that is not only countercultural, it's probably outside of her character, right? Like, it's not who she is. So he's like, man,
she's not forward or
because it's like, you just come over here, man is sleeping, and you're uncovering him, because it was also the whole thing about, is it just a feed? Is the language a euphemism for actually uncovering his lower extremities, which it could mean, is she uncovering all of his from the waist down? Like, what is happening here? Yeah. So, like, I don't know about that. There's different conversations when it comes to theological discussions on what it means. From what I understand is low extremity. So whether that means just the feet, whether it means from the knee down, from the thigh, I don't know. So I'm not going to speculate. The idea is that it was something, obviously, that it was out of the norm. It was something that it was not really your common, like, hey, would you marry me, from a woman to a man? And also just the scene itself, right? Like, it's just different for us. So anyway,
you read out of Psalms a few times, but you read Psalm 91:4. He will cover you with his feathers, he will shelter you with his wings. His faithful promises are your armor and protection. And so I really liked that imagery also, because then we're talking about, so I know I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, but like, she uncovers him. It's this risky thing. He says, hey, don't even worry about it. But the reality of what the covering is if we're looking at how God covers us,
right?
It is that for his faithful promise, his faithful promise, his covering is your armor and your protection as well. So even in his response to saying, hey, you don't have anything to worry about, that even in and of itself is him saying, hey, I'm going to protect you and I'm going to take care of you in even that way. Because you're right. He could have blown up and been like, what are you doing? Made a scene,
right?
And shamed her or had her thrown out, whatever the culture could have called for at that point. But he's even saying, no, like, you're protected. You're going to be okay.
Right.
Which
because you mentioned, so I quoted Psalm 94.
No, 91 verse
91. So 91:4, 91:1 has been one of my life verses. Like I love all of Psalm 91, and the idea of like 91:1 say, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High God shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Yeah. And so, like, I shall say of the Lord. And so that. And I'm thinking, man, like, what a great picture of, like, dwelling in the shelter of the Most High, abiding under his shadow. And that's the shadow of his wings. You mentioned earlier, like the touching of the hem of his garment from the woman with the issue of blood. And that's, again, making another reference to the fact that, the Bible says that he will come, the son will come with healing in his wings. So the zitzi with the, that little long flowing thing that, normally, those rabbis will walk and it will flow like wings. So the imagery is rich on what Hebrews understood. The Israelites understood what it meant to dwell under God's wings. But the interesting thing is that Boaz makes reference to this. Boaz says, you have in chapter 2, he goes and says, because you have come to seek shelter under the Almighty. And so like he says that in chapter 2, like, man, you've come to seek shelter. And so she shows him that she's really trusting in Yahweh. And so here in chapter 3, now she's saying, I want you to be my covering. So God has placed you, you're my family redeemer. God has placed you in a position to actually extend God's covering over me. And so that is a beautiful imagery, and the understanding that, man, we can get to actually cover someone with God's chesed, and this amazing.
That is really cool. Let me see here. I love the next verse is, the Lord bless you, my daughter, Boaz exclaimed. You are showing even more family loyalty now than you did before. So she already had shown loyalty to the family, even by, I imagine he's talking about her response to Naomi and how she's caring for her, the way that she goes out and works, all of those things, not just sitting by. And then he says, even more now than you did before, for you have not gone after a younger man, whether rich or poor. Right. Meaning, like, he probably understands the place that he's at in life, and, she could go after some younger, better looking dude or whatever. But you talked about, like, the return of I forget how you said it. Were you talking... I don't want to say ROI and that not be the terminology that you use.
I didn't use ROI, but it is a return on investment.
You were talking about how, like...
the cost of redeeming.
The cost of redeeming, So you were talking about it with him. He's putting up a lot, and he has it. But then what he's gaining in that is...
and you're going to see in chapter 4 that for us it's like, oh, great, Boaz is so nice. Like, oh, so it's just the right thing to do. Well, you have somebody else that has an opportunity to do it. And they're like, as soon as Boaz says, but you got to marry the Moabite Ruth, he's like, I really can't do that. So if you're willing to do it, like, go ahead. So anyway, I don't want to get into that because that's
it's so
chapter
difficult
4.
Not to.
It's chapter 4. But again, like, there's a cost associated with redemption. We're redeeming something. And so, like, that is it right there. And so the picture, the imagery of Boaz being willing to redeem Ruth, when in reality, it's costing him. Right? Just like God the Father wanting to redeem us. Right. And it cost him. Right? The cost was to me so much more than what he got. So that's what I was saying. Like, come on, like you send Jesus to die for my sins and you get me? Like, so it seemed like, man, this is insane. And so it's for us sometimes I feel like, and I tend to do this, like sometimes it's like, oh, so Jesus died, but that's why he came into the world. That was his whole mission, right, in life. And we can say, so yeah, it's right that Jesus died for humanity to redeem us. But then when I think about, will I be willing as a father to give one of my children for any of y'all?
Yeah, no way, right?
Like, that hits home different, man.
Yeah,
like
of
you
course.
think like, oh, Jesus, that's his, but like it just hits different when you actually put yourself in that position. Then that's what the father had to do. Like, the only way was somebody had to be that family redeemer. there was a debt that needed to be paid, and all of us were slaves because of it.
Yeah.
And so if that debt was not paid, we're going to continue to be slaves.
Well, and in that, there was only one option for payment.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
Like that takes it even to the next level of like, there's no amount of sacrifice that we could bring that would actually pay the debt.
Yep.
There's one sacrifice.
Yep. Only one way.
Only one way.
Yep.
Man, that's so powerful. I love how you tied that all together and how you brought in that element of God's Chesed was displayed. You said it this way. It was displayed when he sent his son Jesus as payment for our redemption.
Yeah.
So Jesus restored us back to your rightful owner and to his family. And I don't know, that messed me up, man, because I like you, I think often about how I'm like, man, you did that for me. Like there's this element of gratitude, not an element, there's a heart full of gratitude for something that I can't even wrap my head around. I don't walk around like that of like, oh, I'm unworthy. I used to, but like, oh, I'll never be able to live up to this kind of a mentality. And that I'm so grateful to have people around me and to have had, walked with God and understand his heart for me more and more, that's not how he wants me to live. But the reality is that, man, I still have that thought of like, you did that for me?
Right.
But I want it to be an overflow of gratitude, an overflow of worship of who my God is, and rejoicing in the fact that he has redeemed me, that he has redeemed you, and that he was willing to pay that price for our redemption. And so we're going to leave it there. I know that we have been having trouble not jumping into chapter 4. This story of Ruth is so powerful. It's such a very cool story. I highly recommend that you read through multiple times and maybe even read through in a translation or two that has some different wording or different imagery and see if something stands out to you. You said that our homework was to read chapter 136.
Yeah, Psalm 136.
Psalm 136 in a few different translations to see those different phrasings or words that are used.
Yeah.
So if
Chesed,
you haven't done that, you have time to still do that for the word Chesed.
Yeah. So Chesed is shown in different translations and in different English languages. So I think that's helpful. Yeah. One thing that, as we're closing here, one thing that I want to leave all of our listeners with is the big takeaway from the message, from the Sunday message, and it was, you're either in a position in life you need to receive God's Chesed. You need to receive. You're in need of His loving kindness, His loyal commitment, His mercy. That's where you're at. You're in need of His Chesed, and Romans 5 lets us know that when we were yet sinners, Christ died for our sins. So it is not something that you need to do, something that God freely offered. And it is God's character to do that. Now, you may be on the other side, like Josh and I, and you are in a position to actually be like Boaz and extend God's Chesed to someone else. And that's what we're called to do, because we are children of God and we are imitators of God. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What's do you have a practical way for the people who are in the position to display God's Chesed? What's a practical way that they could apply that to their lives? Do you have something?
That's a great question. I think that when you think about that word, and the more that you look at what one word in Hebrew means in so many ways in English, and you look at the different things. I said it on Sunday, like for me sometimes it's like being merciful. So someone does something that affects me or affects someone I love. How do I respond to that? Am I merciful, or do I tend to want to give them what they deserve, right? And not show God's Chesed. Perhaps is that, for some people maybe a commitment. Yeah. So loyalty is huge in that word. Wow. And like we see it in Ruth towards Naomi. Like Listen, Orpah, the other daughter-in-law, went back to her people, and it was not bad.
Right.
It was that Naomi.
She wasn't wrong.
Yeah, she wasn't wrong. Like Naomi was telling them, go back to your people, to your father's house. Like this will be better for you. So Orpah went back, but Naomi displayed that chesed. She was like loyal. She's like, I'm not going anywhere. So for some of you, some people that are listening to this need to actually display that loyalty. It's not like, sometimes, this is difficult, and I don't want to stay here because it feels uncomfortable, but God is asking you to stay there. Yeah. God is asking you to be that, to display that loyalty, that loyal commitment, that steadfast love towards someone or in an environment or in a circumstance. So anyway.
I'll say for me, the thing that I struggle with is, like you said, mercy towards someone who I might have every reason to not show them mercy, but to show them that mercy, and then the loving kindness. Kindness is not typically a natural thing for me, but in trying to put this forward of, man, God has done this for me, so how could I possibly hold it back from the people around me? That's where I feel challenged, and conviction and encouragement to move in that direction. So that's my encouragement to you as well, our faithful listeners. We're so glad that you stuck around with us. We hope that you have a great Thanksgiving, that you enjoy the time with your family and your friends, and that you have opportunity to show God's loving kindness and that chesed in your life during this holiday season. So thank you guys for sticking around with us. We love you. We'll see you next time. All right.
Later.
Thanks again for joining us today. We would love for you to tell others about the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to it too, because this will help others find out about it. If you missed it before, we love to hear from you. So if you have any stories to tell about how the message impacted you, or maybe you have a question or comment, make sure you email us at podcast@goodnews.church. Y'all, this is my favorite day of the week. So go give away what you just learned, and we'll chat again next time.